Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we
Yep.
can hear you.
All right. All right, I am your moderator. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to FS Con, not FSK Day, but FS Con. I am your moderator for this first panel this morning. Building Worlds. I have with me some fine feathered guests this morning. We might be missing one. Mike, are we missing a guest? I saw her in the building. Let me know if she's coming over. I'm gonna run through. If you guys don't mind, unless y'all want to jump in, and you can edit my little short intro. I was gonna save you guys some time. I'm gonna introduce each of you guys based on some, your bios that I was able to pull. If you guys don't mind, just to save us some time, so we can get right into the conversation. And then feel free to correct me if I happen to say anything that's misleading or basically wrong. One of my first guests is Jeremy. Jeremy, the story monster. That would be
That is
Jeremy Roden. Jeremy Roden. He is a podcaster. You can find him at storymonster.com. TheStoryMonster.com for all your movie reviews, books, and banter. He has a podcast. When did your podcast?
The Story Monster podcast.
Like, how often does it broadcast?
I drop it twice a week, Monday and Thursday.
Twice. All right, Monday and Thursday. All right. And also we have Ted Sakura. He is the author of Tap Dance Killer. Is that?
That's right.
Hold on, let me go there. Tap Dance Killer. Yes. He is also one of the creative minds behind Hero Tomorrow Comics. Hailing from Cleveland, Ohio. I also have my man Robert Jeffrey, creator of Route 3. Also the creator behind one of the creative minds behind Terminus Media and Radio Free America, one of my favorite comics that no one barely has heard of. It's one of my secret pleasures. But he's another vet that's in the building today. And we also have Elisa Sanchez. And I got a very interesting bio for you, something that had to do with you having fire powers that you discovered recently, and things of that nature. It wasn't really a bio, but I do know that you're one of the newest members of Freestyle Comics.
Okay. Yes.
And what books are you working on right now?
Well, currently, me and the team just released the Cypher 4 with Vigilance. So
Okay.
that's been released. It's in an anthology, so it's more of an introduction.
Okay.
And sometime in the future, when everybody collects the Vigilance, they should see my character as a cameo in Vigilance number 4, I believe.
Okay. Wow. All right. That's Miss Sanchez, and then also we have Vicinia Lindsay.
Hey.
And you're the artist and author of
Celestial Pulse, yes.
Celestial Pulse, right?
Yes.
All right. Now is that a web comic or is that web and print?
It's both web and print.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, I just gave a little short bio for everybody that's in the building. We have creators from all over the spectrum here, experience types of stories. We have manga creators with Vicinia. We have superhero writers. My man Robert Jeffrey has done a little work with DC Comics. So we have a wide range of experience. So I'm anxious to get into some questions here. So like I said before, this panel was about world building. And first off, I want to ask some of the vets how should we define world building? I want to start with you, Robert. How do you define world building?
I guess for me, it's building up your story universe. It can go from, I guess, building up the lore in terms of, the background, the history, the massive settings of these worlds that you're trying to, build. But also that can include going a little bit deeper, at least more internal, where you're focusing on building the worlds of your individual characters. One of the things that I sometimes get concerned about is, getting lost in the world building, because and I think sometimes as writers, we have a tendency to be like, yo, I got this world and it's so huge, and group A hates group B and this and that and this and that, but you sometimes get away from doing the individual or personal world building that you need for your characters. So it can be as massive as you want it to be, but also central and focused, when it comes to building the respective backgrounds and histories of the characters that are going to be affected by the larger world building you're doing. So,
Mr. Ted Sakura, what would you like to add to that?
First of all, is my mic working all right? I didn't really do a check.
You sound crispy.
Good. Okay. I completely agree with what Robert said. With us, we started with a single superhero. It was this ice cream truck driver in Cleveland who unlocks the spirit force of the most savage beast mankind has never known. It's called Apama. And we really just, growing up, I always liked the single issue things more than the team books personally. So we were just, a classic origin story in issue 1. Issue 2, we introduced the first villain. And issue 5, we introduced the main nemesis of the series. And then her name's Regina, which I'll get to in a moment. But then issues 10 and 11, we introduced the Tap Dance Killer, which was like a love interest nemesis. And images of her were being liked and shared really by the thousands on social media by people who didn't even know who the character was. And that was the first spin-off. I'm like, well, let's, kind of read these tea leaves and put this out into the world. And then that became our bestseller. Now it's still in the same world as Apama. And then the Regina character, she just got an origin prequel that became our bestseller yet, called Bloom. And so we're just kind of stacking blocks, one at a time on this foundation. And, within the pages of Tap Dance Killer, we introduced a heavyweight boxer, becomes a superpowered murderous clown named Punchline, and he got spun into his own series. So we have 4 titles now. They're all in the same world. And, I think it's one of the benefits you have as an indie creator. If people like your stuff and it's all connected in some way, it's important, I think, to not make it so that they have to start with the first book of your first series. So anybody can start with, say, Tap Dance Killer or Punchline or Bloom, but once they dig that and I see them at the next show or whatever, like, by the way, this is connected to this, and I just think that's a big advantage over people who maybe do a series that's self-contained. Then they do another series that's self-contained, different time periods or whatever, completely unrelated. So, world building has been huge for us.
Yeah, whenever I think of world building, just to give our listeners context, I think of Milestone in the 90s. They had this huge Bible that supposedly that still exists, like a physical tome of information about everything that had to do with Milestone. So all the characters' names, their backstories, the history of the town of Dakota, the history of not all the characters, but the villains that they encounter, the whole 9 yards. So I always imagine every time someone says anything about world building, there's this huge tome sitting somewhere that has all the information for, you know, whatever your character is or your story is. Visenia, is that something that you subscribe to? That like you do have for your comic? Is there like this huge binder of information about everything, or do you sort of like Ted was saying, do you like build on your story and your world, so to speak, you know, brick by brick or story by story?
It's mostly, I make my story. It's weird because I like modern fantasy, so that's my thing, and I build my world based on that modern fantasy. So then when it comes to like adding to the world and everything, it's just based on that imagination and trying to pull
Mm-hmm.
from there and
Mm-hmm.
expand in that situation, but make it feel as if it could happen in today's world.
Right. No,
Yeah.
so do you like to write, for instance, do you like to write stories that encompass a world that's like all expanding, like a quote unquote universe, or do you like intimate stories where it's sort of like a world between just a, you know, one or two people, or like a family, like a
Ooh, he glitched out.
did I get
Yes.
lost?
Yeah.
Can you
I
still hear
think he
me?
glitched.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Did you hear that last part? I'm
No,
sorry.
I did not.
Oh no, I was asking like, what kind of world building do you like to write about and like to create? Do you like to create like small, intimate moments of that type of world building, or you like to make large, expansive worlds like in a Marvel movie and things like that?
Definitely expanding. I don't want to keep it where it's just between characters. I'd rather have it where it's anybody in that specific universe and possibly more.
Got you. Jeremy, as a fan of comics and comic movies and things like that, what type of worlds do you enjoy the most? Or what type of worlds like, you know, engage and draw you in best?
Well, I love horror. I'm a big horror fan. I write short stories. That's the world that I live in. And one of the things I love about, I'm a big fan of what I like to call chemical X. Those who grew up and are familiar with the Powerpuff Girls, that was one of the main ingredients that made them extraordinary. And I think it's important to have those in world building. For example, in Star Wars, you have kyber crystals. And for those who don't know, those are the crystals used to make lightsabers. And that resource is precious. And for those who are familiar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we have vibranium and adamantium. So it's like that's a precious metal that affects the whole world. It's the chemical X of the entire universe. And even in Doom with the sandworms, like that's a precious resource. People battle and
spice,
die. The spice is the source, it's the life force, if you will. And so that's something that's important to me when I write short stories or when I'm reading stories. I'm always looking for that chemical X. Like, what makes this world different from ours, and how does it affect the storytelling? Because that chemical X element will define the entire story, and it can make or break the trajectory of the characters.
No. I love the way you package that. Basically, and what I've noticed too is sort of like when I watch a movie, I realize that I only get a clip or only getting like a small window into the overall world. And for instance, pick up a book, a Star Wars book, then that's when I get actually see and actually delve into some of the world building that they've built around it. That's when I hear about the crystals or ceremonies around making a lightsaber, and things like that. I have a question for you, Alyssa. You're in a unique spot where it's like someone is actually handing you the world that's already been built, and you're writing inside of this world that sort of have already been created for you. What's that experience like to like play around and move things around and change things? Do you try to stay in the pocket and keep to the rules of the world that you're in?
That's a really good question. Basically, when I was first entered in, they were introducing how the world of vigilance, all the characters. So the best way I can do it is like I get to play around with it a little bit. I was like, how can I incorporate
Mhm.
my story to make sense with theirs? And I
Right.
felt like I didn't have to do too much because of how much like the team has been, how kind they were, and at the same time, it's like I not only am I introducing my world, it's like I get to like jump into theirs and like just have fun with it, and it's pretty
Right.
interesting.
No, I like that. And Robert, you've had that experience too, like with Route 3, your original book, you built your
Mhm.
own world there. And also at the same time, when you did work for DC, you wrote a John Stewart story, Green Lantern story, where the world was already built for you, or like they were
Yeah.
handing you, you know what I'm saying? Like they handed you a character that was already, established. What are the which do you like better, and what are the like major differences in working in those worlds?
Whoever's paying is the better. No, I'm kidding.
That's
No, I
the best
mean,
world, right?
I mean, let's just be real. Inflation, right?
Right.
Nah, it's. I think there are pluses for doing both. Like with Route 3, that's my baby. That's my personal story. That's the
Mhm.
one that I wanted to get out there. And the cool thing was with working with folks at Terminus, like Tony Cade. Shout out to Prime Direction, Autumn Fox,
Mhm.
and John McGuire. Everybody allowed me to kind of work it the way that I do. So I think that you have more freedom to build those worlds however you want to, with indie publishers or when you're self-publishing. And there definitely is, a little bit of oversight in that people are still editing your stuff. For people
Mhm.
who think
Right.
just to make sure the story flows, that grammar's correct, plots on point, and it's something that could be a sellable product. So if you do go into indie publishing, self-publishing, or working with a smaller publisher, don't ever expect that you don't need an editor to help you
Mm.
build these worlds. You gotta drop that mindset and think that editing is not a good thing. When it comes to working with a company like DC Comics, you're playing in their sandbox. Albeit
Right.
the short story that I did was for an anthology, I had a little bit more freedom to kind of tell that story because it wasn't having a direct effect on John Stewart's appearances and any of the other DC comics. So there was a little
Right.
bit of flexibility, but even then there, I couldn't go like too overboard. But the other
Mhm.
part of that was the editing was also helpful for me because it helped me to grow as a writer, but then it also helped me to realize that all of this extraneous stuff that I wanted to toss in of like John Stewart flying through space so he can go to a planet, because visually that's what I was seeing in my head, and I wanted to kind of expand this world and just kind of see him in this universe. And the editor was like, just put him on a planet. There's no reason to show him flying through space. That doesn't help the story,
Mm.
and that helped me out, especially when it came to moving forward with the projects that I've done with Subsume Media, 133 Art, FSK Comics, and Ray Comics, to just kind of pare this world building down to what essentially matters when you're telling a story, because that's what's important.
Mm.
And one of the things that I always tell writers or creators who might come up to a table and be like, I got these great worlds and this, and they'll throw down, not Trapper Keepers because nobody uses Trapper Keepers anymore, but like folders and steno notebooks of ideas. I'm like, what's your story? And that's what's going to help any world building that you do. So
Right. Yeah, that leads me to my next question, because I I know what you mean, because like sometimes someone will approach me about their comic book idea, and they bury me under world building. It's like, yo, these characters, they're a group of furries that live in a tree that's on this planet such and such, and then it's like they go down this rabbit hole of world building. And again, like you were saying, like I haven't heard the story yet. You know what I mean? I haven't heard the hook, the thing that that's going to pull me in. And Ted, can you speak to the fact of what are some rookie mistakes like that you feel like writers do when they're creating their worlds? Like, what are some pitfalls that that writers might fall into, and when they're world building, quote unquote?
It's a great question, and I think a lot of people do have this grand scheme, and when you have something measured out for 20 issues or something, you're
Right.
really not giving your audience a chance to react to the material and influence where these stories go. And like, I think it's great to, have the analogy I use all the time is like, I know where I'm headed. It's like a cross country ride across the United States, and you're not going to take
Yeah.
any highways, and we're just going to see some neighborhoods and villages along the way, and we're going to stop and explore those. We're still on our way to what we want to, where we want to go, but you've got to be open to opportunities as they come, and you got to react to what your readers are responding to. So, yeah, whenever somebody gives me a big grandiose thing, I'm like, well, what's the human element of it? Why do I care human to human about this character?
Right.
Where do people see themselves in this character? Like it's so easy, I think, to just get involved with like the character's powers and but like I think it's really important to do those character questionnaires for your main characters where you can find these online, and there'll be like 100 questions. Where did your character go to school? What was their first relationship like?
Right.
Where was the first job they got fired from, and why? And these things won't come up necessarily in your stories, but it makes it so much easier to write your characters when you understand them and you've put in the work to really make them deep, fleshed out. So I'm always real skeptical when somebody just starts talking about the powers and the alien world or something, and
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes the term world building or use of the word world may be a little bit misleading, because it gives the impression that, okay, now if I want to tell this story, I have to describe the entire planet this character lives on, as opposed to, no, you can write a story and, or you can use sort of like prompts, like if this story is like a Lord of the Rings, that template sort of sets up the world for you. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to, you don't have to totally reinvent the wheel every time you try to tell a story. Or this story is sort of like Batman. It's like you can use that as a starting point, instead of having to create a whole new planet of characters and things like that.
If I could say one more thing on that,
Yeah, go ahead.
And Batman's an interesting one to contrast, I think, with Spider-Man. Because I know they're both extremely successful, but when you look at the supporting casts, Spider-Man's is, I think, far superior. Like you got, especially the way it was originally built, where you got this guy living with his aunt and uncle, then you got the friends, Gwen, Mary Jane, Harry, of course, Harry's father. There's so much depth there, so much in that world of just Peter Parker's friends and
Right.
his family. Where like with Batman, you kind of got Alfred, and I don't find that as interesting. I think Batman and Spider-Man are equally interesting, but I don't think Bruce Wayne is nearly as interesting as Peter Parker.
Right, and that's what's so interesting about DC and Marvel, right? They have created worlds that are so ingrained in our mind that even I was thinking about Amalgam, when they merged the two worlds. I could tell these were two different things coming together. The worlds are so distinctly different. By merging them together, I could feel the discomfort and anxiety, reading those books. It's like, God, this Wolverine as Batman is not right. It's like I can't stand it. It was like made me itch, But it's because those worlds were so, incredibly ingrained in our minds. It's like mixing the two was just horrible for me. I just couldn't stand it.
I want to add something to that.
Go ahead. Yeah,
So-
no, please.
So that's one of the elements I like called micro world building, right?
Yes.
Is when you take two polar opposites and you mix them
Mm.
together, and it can create something horrible, or it can create like more
Right.
storytelling opportunities, right? So if you have like a group of people set in the desert, and then you have another
Yes.
group of people set in a swamp, they're
Yeah.
going to need to trade resources, right? Or they're going to be at each other's throats. So that creates more
Mhm.
conflict
I need some
because they're so
Right.
different. And you know,
Yes.
just going back to a more microscopic example,
Yes.
people near the equator have darker skin. It helps them absorb the UV light, and people in polar
Right.
regions have lighter skin to help them absorb nutrients like vitamin D. So it's like
Yes.
even getting that deep as to like what makes the characters different can present more storytelling opportunities, conflict, and character
Mhm.
development, which is important, right? So I think it's funny that you mentioned that because you knew the Amalgam universe was wrong. These are two different universes, but at the same
Right.
time, it's something completely new. You know, it's cosmic, it's
Right.
large, and I enjoyed the Amalgam story. I think it was pretty interesting, but I also felt the same way. Like this is kind of off, but you know that's what it's all about. Like thinking differently
It
and
was
outside
it was
the
blasphemous.
comfort zone.
It was blasphemous, is what it was. All right. They're literally, as much as I have plenty more, but they're rushing me off the panel here. Where can everyone find your worlds? I'm going to start with you, Elisa.
You can find me inside Your Gates on Instagram, and you can find more information about the story more and the freestyle comics sites like FSK Now and more freestyle comics on Facebook.
All right, cool. Visenia, where can we find your work?
Well, I'm Google friendly because my name is like only my name in the world. So Visenya Designs.
That's how I found you. You're right. Yeah.
Right. Definitely. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, everywhere. It's just all you have to do is Google Visenya Designs and you'll find me.
All right, cool. Mr. Sakura, how can we get a hold of your
and TedSakura.com or on Facebook, Instagram, all that. Either Ted Sakura or Hero Tomorrow.
Got you. Mr. Robert Jeffrey, how can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can find me at robertk.jeffrey, JEFFREY.com. That's robertk.jeffrey at JEFFREY.com. And then also my social media handle on Instagram is right underneath my name, robertk.jeffrey at robertk.jeffrey. So y'all better just be happy I don't have that many social media handles because I'll be rolling through books. But yeah, those are the best places to find me. So I gotta sell books. Inflation, right? Inflation. So
that's right. And last but not least, my friend Jeremy, where can we find you?
You can find me at thestorymonster.com, where I interview independent artists, publishers, creators such as yourself, and on Twitter at @the_storymonster and Instagram, the Story Monster.
All right. And as always, I am Imani Latif. I'm the creator of Black Comics Universe. For everyone here at FSK Day, I think it's like, Alyssa, are you there? You're not there, are you? Are you at the place? Visenia, she's in a utility closet at the spot.
They put me in the closet, man.
Yeah, they put you in the closet. Come out of the closet, Visenia.
But we be on the floor, you know.
All right. Everybody, if you're in the Columbus area, go support Visenia. Get her out the closet, please. All right, that's my time. Take us out of here, Mr. Mike Watson.
Thank you, Money.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. That was an awesome panel. We are going to be trying to play a little bit of catch up, so I'm going to be adjusting some times to some panels to hopefully get us back on track. I want to thank Imani for putting that on, hosting that, and all of our talented individuals, writers, and creators of these worlds that they make and destroy. Please, please, please go check them out. Follow them on all the socials. Go get their books. I'm telling you right now, everybody that I have on these panels, that I've asked to be a part of these panels, I am a Vivid fan of. I have their stuff. All right? That means you should get it too, because it is awesome. Go check out everything they have cracking. And we are about to get ready to